you go with me to Daniel chapter 1. Let me see if I can get my Bible open. Thanks to Mom and Debbie, I have a large print Bible. It's 4 words a page. I can actually see. My wife says, wear glasses. I said, never!
Never!
Not going to do it. Ezekiel, Daniel, right? That's how it goes. Okay, let's check it. In Daniel chapter 1, we find that Nebuchadnezzar, I'll just read it to you. It says, in the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. He took it over. He was coming in and marching in and taking over Jerusalem. Next page. And so, for him to successfully pull this off, so you can come in and you can set up a hostile environment. But if you really want to take over a country, you got to make friends with them. You don't want them hating you all the time. You got to find some way to convert them into what you're doing, or else they'll always be a thorn in your side. So what he did is he sent out his soldiers, and they captured all the good-looking and bright and athletic and talented, and every child that would look like they'd stepped off the front of a magazine, and he went and kidnapped them. Why? Because he was fixing to take them and turn them into Chaldeans.
Okay.
For Nebuchadnezzar's successful take over Jerusalem and conquer Israel, he had to win them, or else they would constantly be hostile towards him. To win them, he started with their brightest and best, their gifted, their impressionable, their future, their leaders. Okay. Now, who are the leaders? Well, let me say something to you right now. I've heard this said to me a long time ago, that most of the people that are in entertainment or in politics or in any form of being a celebrity, if you will, is somebody that God has a call in their life, and the devil has come and perverted that and turned it over to his use. So you know what's left? Me and you. So what God's saying is, I'm going to take what men would cast down and not be able to use. I'm going to take the average person. I'm going to take you guys, and I'm going to turn this world upside down. And so to do this thing, though, it's kind of like it suddenly sets you on fire. Listen to me carefully. When you get filled with the Holy Spirit, you were once dark, and now you're a light. Well, now the devil knows where to shoot, Ken. See, before he didn't care about you because you weren't a threat. But now you're filled with the fire of God. The same fire that was in Jesus is now in you. So now you're as big a threat. In fact, if you don't tell the devil, he can't tell the difference between you and Jesus. Next page. So he said, go get young men in whom there was no blemish, but they were good looking, gifted in all wisdom, possessing knowledge and quick to understand, who had the ability to serve in the king's palace, whom they might teach the language and literature of the Chaldeans. Next page. So step number 1, you got to disorient them. I think I got that spell wrong.
No, you spelled hospital wrong.
What was wrong? What did I spell wrong? Okay, I'll fix that later. Thanks for noticing. The first thing you do is you disorient somebody. And so I'm just trying to tell you that you may be walking along your life and everything's good, but you know what the devil wants to do? He wants to get you upset and get you out of your norm, get you out of that cozy, comfortable place, like moving you to a new job or a new neighborhood or another school or going to college or whatever it is, or something, all hell breaks loose in your marriage or whatever's going on. Next thing you know, everything's disoriented. You're not really sure what's up and what's down. My kids moved up to Nashville, and I'll tell you, I've told them since they were little, they moved out here, there's a spirit over Nashville. Yeah. Because it's a place where men go to get worshipped, and we're not supposed to be worshipped. Right. Yep. So there's this thing over it, and I've been up there several times and kind of peeled the layers back and found that there's so many broken, hurting people up there, but I'll go to that another time. But when my kids went up there and they were kind of settling in, they got a little unmoored from the things that we had taught them. I'm just saying, it wasn't that they did anything wrong or any bad activity. I just started listening to their conversation. I started listening to some of the things they were saying, and they were saying kind of squirrely to me. And so, because they got detached from home base and mom and dad, they had to develop their own sense of morals, their own compass, if you will. Now, thankfully, they're involved in church now, and they sound to look great. I'm just going one of these right here. But I'm telling you what, if you don't stay connected to the fellowship of the Holy Spirit in the church, you're going to drift and you're going to get squirrely. Yeah. I don't care if you watch it on TV and read books and all that stuff and say, I'm a church and unto myself. You know, that's a great saying, but that's not what the Bible says. The Bible says for us not to forsake the assembling of ourselves together. There's something that happens when we gather in this room that happens in your spirit you cannot get any other way. That was just a little rabbit chase. Step one, you disorient. Number two. Next page. Well, see, amongst these many children, I don't know, there may have been 1 million people in that city. I'm just going to get. And so if they went and got every good-looking teenager, there may be 10, 20, 30,000, 100,000 kids. I don't know. But there were 4, and their names were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. And to them, the chiefs of the eunuchs gave new names. They gave them a new name. Because you know what? It's not what you're called, it's what you answer to. See, you know, back in the old days, let me get some more. Back in the old days, when people gave a name, they didn't just give a name by whatever trotted by until the child was born. Yeah. They didn't look it up in a baby name book, so it sounded cool. They named kids, and it actually set them on a path. Their name was their destiny. Yeah. Okay. That's why Jesus came along and changed Simon's name to Peter, because Simon meant weak as water, unstable. He changed his name to Petros, or Peter, which meant the rock. He changed what he thought he was into something else. He changed his name. And so these people came and got these kids, so we got to change their name, because they were named by their Jewish parents. We got to change them into one of our names. And so they changed their names to Belteshazzar, Hananiah, Belteshazzar, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Those 4 guys. Well, let's look at their names real quick. So the second step is you rename him. Are you a Christian? Well, I don't know. Do you love Jesus? Well, I don't know. Next page. So your name is your character and your authority, and it is the prophetic destiny that you've been carved into. That's why, you know, we went to somewhere. Where were we at? They named the place City of Moab or something. Where was that at?
Oh, in Utah, there's a place.
It was in Utah, there's this place called Moab. I'm thinking, you know, if I was going to name my city, I wouldn't name it the one place that God says he hates. He never says he hates anybody, but he said, I hate the Moabites. Anyway, so don't name your child Moab. Just a little side note, okay? Next page. So here are their names. And Daniel meant judge of God. Hananiah meant favor of God. Mishael meant the strength of God. And Azariah meant the protection of God. And then they got these new whippersnapper names. And they don't mean anything. I looked it up. There's no origin. There's no definition. And here's exactly what they do to you in school. See, they don't teach that you are created by a loving Father that had a purpose and a destiny from before you were even born, that you were put here, that you were going to leave God, go live on earth, fulfill your days and your destiny, and then return to it. Now, they teach you that we're some accident, that nature just vomited it up on the shore, and then it became some slime that became an amphibian, and then somewhere became an ape, and then one day it became a man. And then we're all going to die, and we're going to be dust in the wind, and there's nothing to it. And that's the name they're trying to give you. They're trying to name you and tell you, you're not worth anything. Why are these kids walking in and shooting everybody? Because they don't believe there's anything to them. Yeah. Why does it matter if I kill anybody? I'm not worth anything. And if there's no hell, then what's the problem? Right. You teach people long enough they're not worth anything, and they'll make sure you know their name before they die. That's right. That's the truth, right? It is true. And who do you think's all behind all this? It's because he's trying to worm his way in just a little bit of time. You know, I've told this story 1,000 times, but it's like, you know, those big old boa constrictors and pythons. They don't squeeze you to death. Right. They wrap around you and they just wait for you to exhale, and they take up the slack. And after a while, you can't inhale. And that's how the devil works. He just wraps around you. If you let him stay there, and he'll just wait until you get a little looser, a little more lax, give him a little more space, give him a little more ground, give him a little more of this, a little more of that. Next thing you know, he's all up in your house, and you can't breathe anymore. And you won't know how he got there. I'll tell you, he got there because somewhere we opened the door for him. Next page. I'm sorry. questions. The question you got to answer today is, who are you and whose are you? You got to know this. Because it's like, if you leave here, see, we're strong in the Bible Belt. I'm going to tell you something. If you ever leave this place and go to where God is like the most, it's like Bigfoot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they don't even know, they don't even believe it's real. And you walk up going, and they look at you like you just got off a spaceship.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right.
Down here, we talk about God and God bless America. Well, you go somewhere else, not very far from here, they haven't heard of it. So you better know who you are. You better know what you believe. You better know, this better be imprinted on your soul and not some concept in your brain.
Yeah.
Next page.
Right.
In Jeremiah 1:5, this is what God said about you. He said, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I sanctified you. I ordained you a prophet to the nations. I believe there's somebody in this room needs to hear that again today. I believe you need to believe it and understand that thing you let go of when you was a child, that you've given up on because you've made mistakes or had a divorce or had an abortion or whatever mistakes you think you've done. God's never stopped calling you. He's never stopped ordaining you. He's always been waiting on you to pick up the mantle, walk forward and do what He's called you to do. Next page. Jeremiah 29:11 says, I alone know the plans I have for you. Plans to bring you prosperity, not disaster. Plans to bring about the future you hope for. God is not in the business of stealing, killing, and destroying. He does not steal from you. He does not kill, and He does not destroy. Regardless of what your grandfather told you or somebody in your life told you, that the Lord's just trying to help you a little bit by killing you. I had a guy stand up at a funeral one day and said they've got arthritis and every other thing listed off. He said, but I don't know, it's just God loving on me. And I'm thinking, God loving on you? Well, God, you don't have to love on me a lick. Let's just keep it all up there. But the funny thing is, God ain't got no arthritis in heaven. He ain't got no cancer in heaven. How can He put any of that on us? He didn't have any of
He
it.
doesn't.
In fact, He put it on His Son so none of us will ever have to have it.
That's right.
You need to get your mind right now. Is that God's got a plan for your life, and He's a plan to prosper you, and then He's got a plan to not bring disaster on you, but to bring about the future you can only hope for. As high as you can dream, He's higher than that.
Come on.
Amen?
Yes.
Next page. Y'all get any of this?
Yes.
Romans 8:29 says, for whom He foreknew, He also predestined to be conformed to the image of His Son, that He might be the firstborn among many brethren. This is Jesus, but He's talking about Jesus and He's talking about you. And He's saying, before you ever had glint in your Father's eye, He went ahead. Just went ahead before you even knew He was here. He went ahead and predestined you to be conformed to the image of His dear Son. He went ahead and called you, anointed you, appointed you, and set you apart to do His will. And all He's waiting on you to do is say yes. You didn't start at the back of the line. You started at the head of the table. Next page. Daniel 1:5, we keep picking back up. And the king appointed for them a daily provision of king's meat and of the wine which he drank, and 3 years of training for them, so at the end of that time they might serve before the king. Let me back up into the story. Here are a bunch of kids who have been, look at me, been snatched up in the middle of the night out of their home, rounded up and huddled together. You know they're tired. You know they're scared. You know they're probably cold and crying and disoriented and not knowing what's about to happen. And here they are, and the guy says, here, we're fixing you a meal in here, and we want you to eat this. And you know, I'm going to tell you something. I got to hand it to Noah. Because 40 days on that boat, and there are them 2 cows walking around. Something had been on the grill at the Cain house at that point. Thank God they didn't have Dale sauce back then. We didn't have to have tomato. If them Indians ever start eating beef, I'm going over there with a case of Dale's. I'm going to be a millionaire. Ain't that right? And so here they are sitting there huddled together, and all of a sudden somebody slaps some meat on the grill. Come on, man. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Man, my stomach could be eating a hole through my back, like Kent says all the time. But if I smelled that, especially I hadn't eaten in a while. And when they plopped the meat down on the aisle, on the grill, the only thing they did was they took it after it's cooked and they set it before an idol, and they had the idol bless it. And then they brought it out to the kids. And everybody was hungry and everybody was eating except for those 4. Now, do you think there'd be some rationale kick in your life about there, something that would begin to bargain with you and say, hey, this is That's just an old ancient ritual. That doesn't matter. I mean, I know God said don't eat meat that was offered to idols, but I mean, did he know that this circumstance would be here?
Right. Come on.
I'm sure God will understand that I'm hungry and I haven't had my protein intake for today. It's going to mess up my whole Pilates and my whole South Beach diet. I'm sure he'll understand this one time. And I'm sure maybe he would. But you know what? There were 4 that didn't. And the guy that was keeping them, charge of them, said, hey guys, if y'all start looking poorly, my head's off. And Daniel says to him, so I'll tell you what, give us a test. We'll take 10 days and we'll eat pulse. But best I can figure pulse is beans and water. Beans and water for 10 days. These other guys are eating steak and potatoes. They got their protein shake. They got the Red Bull going. I don't know what all, but they're beefing these guys up. But the 4 are eating beans and water. And he said, give us a test. And they said at the end of 10 days, look at me now, that after 10 days, they were fairer, stronger, and looked better than the guys that eaten the king's delicacies, because it wasn't the power of the beans, it was the power of the obedience that brought the favor in their life. Next page. See, step 3, he wants to bargain with you. You know, when Moses was trying to get the children of Israel out of Egypt, after 8 plagues or so, Pharaoh said, hey, tell you what, how about this? You guys can offer your sacrifices and you can be free to stay inside the borders of Egypt. That sounds like a good deal. I mean, if you're making bricks every day and getting your back beaten every day, and somebody says, I'll let you free as long as you stay in my domain, that might sound like a good deal. And you know what the biggest enemy of the best is? The good. Do you want God's best? Or you just want what comes along that fills your need for now? Because if it's all about you and your need, that's all you'll ever amount to. But if you'll seek to find the favor of God, the heart of God, to fulfill His plan for your life, then you'll say, devil, I will not bow. I will not bargain. I will not let go. I won't give you half of it. It's going to be my way. It's going to be God's way. And it's not going to be anything of you. And that's the end of the story.
Right.
That means if you're on Friday night and you ain't got a date, you're not going to just call whoever. That means if you're sitting at home and everybody else is doing something and you're not, because you know it's going to violate your conscience and your moral compass, you will not do it. I went on a pastor's retreat one time, and one guy told a joke and started cussing, said a cuss word in it. All of a sudden, all those guys took off cussing. I'm thinking, what happened to y'all? It's like somebody let the gate down and everyone that couldn't wait to do something was doing it. I said, you know what? I don't know about y'all, but I'm not going to prostitute my relationship with Jesus just because I want to get along with a bunch of guys.
Come on now.
Bargaining. Next page. See, going to college, starting a new job, meeting new friends, new relationships, even just dealing with the boredom of everyday life. This is our battleground. We'll never be defeated by the Goliaths or the Jerichos. Those things tend to turn us back to God, don't they? It's the small, seemingly insignificant things that sneak up on us, gradually leading us away from our identity, from our heritage, from the truth. It's that one little place where you give in. And you give yourself a little slack. You give yourself permission to do it this time. Because after all, I had a bad day, or somebody hurt me, or I'm in pain, or blah, blah, blah. And you give yourself permission to go against what you know is the truth.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you look up. Where am I?
Right.
It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen immediately. It just happens a little at a time.
Set your face towards
A
the
little at a time. Next page. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Genesis chapter 3, you need to learn something about the devil. The first thing he ever said was a lie.
Yeah.
The first thing he ever did was challenge what God said and tell a lie. If you're in this situation, do you think the devil's going to come alongside you and try to wave sin in your face, Johnny? You know what he's going to do? He's going to go like this. He's going to go, you know what, man? Johnny, you got it bad. Those people knew what it was like to be you. Oh, buddy.
Yeah.
You know what would go down good about right there? A couple of colds. Let's go to the morgue. No, wait. That's a different joke. Two vampires. Okay. He sits down in your situation. He gives you empathy. It's just what you're looking for. You send out invitations to your pity party, and he's the one who shows up. And he'll agree with you and tell you how everything's so bad and all. It would be so much better. You know what? We'll get back on track tomorrow. But today, wouldn't it just be so nice? Next page. But in chapter 1 and verse number 4, it said Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with a portion of the king's delicacies, nor with the wine which he drank. He made it on purpose. See, here's the thing. If you don't make it on purpose, if you wait till every situation shows up to decide, it's too late then. You can't decide that you're not going to be in the back seat before you get in the car on a date with a girl. Nobody's looking at me. Oh yeah, okay. You make that decision before you ever pick up the phone to call her. You understand what I'm saying? You don't make up your mind whether or not you're going to do these things that you know violate your conscience, and until you get in the moment, it's too late. You got to make up your mind before you ever step out of the door. This is who I am. This is who I'm going to be the rest of my life. When I first got saved, all I had was worldly friends. I'd let go every one of them. Because I knew if I didn't break ties with them, they would lead me eventually right back into the life I was trying to get away from. Was that hard? Yes, it was. They talked about me, made fun of me. That is until they needed Jesus, then they called me in the middle of the night. Somebody, let me tell you, ain't that worth something to you?
That's worth it.
Come on.
Who are you going to be the rest of your life? Make up your mind. And it's not too late. It just takes a decision. So this is the day I'm deciding to be all in for God.
Yes.
Next page.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes, sir.
Next page. I already told that. I'm just way ahead of myself. See, so many people just automatically assume that they're outnumbered and outgunned. But how do you know unless you try? See, they stood up to the test. They stood up to the challenge. Have you asked God for Sundays and Wednesdays? Have you ever challenged that? Kevin, they're both here this morning, and I tell your story all the time. But you know, they had a good job, and they told them they didn't have to work on Sundays, and then they started lining them up for Sundays, and they said, well, that's a good deal, but we're not working here. Walked across the street, got another, on the same day, got another job for $2 more an hour. Is that correct? Okay, you know what? Maybe if you let God do it, He'll get you out of a mess. But if you let fear drive the bus, you're not going to go anywhere but round and round. Have you ever tithed? Have you ever shared your testimony? Have you prayed for a sick person? You'll never walk on water until you decide to get out of it.
Yes.
Next page.
It's good, Pastor.
Next page. Well, we're zipping along today, ain't we? Why does it matter? Why does any of this matter? Why does it matter that we live uprightly? You know what that means? It's like, see, grace is being broadcast today is that God loves us and has a wonderful plan for life, and He does. There's nothing I can do in this life that'll get me closer to God. Not one thing. But see, the second half of the story is I love God and I love my neighbor. And see, I want to tell you something. There are things in this life, are y'all looking at me, that even lost people consider to be bad. And if we're no different than they are, how are they ever going to see a difference that will lead them into the presence of God? If I live amongst them and they don't know that I'm different from them, then how are they ever going to see a difference and want to change? I used to be in that world. I was a proud, loud sinner. I was the guy that would stand up on the bar leading cheers. I was that guy. I wanted to drink more and do more, and I was just fighting and all this stuff. I was just the worst guy you want to know. And I knew when I got born again that I couldn't do that stuff anymore. Not that I even wanted to, but I said to myself, I was so loud and so proud for the devil, I got a lot of work to do to let people see that I'm no longer that guy. I can't even be close to that guy because they'll assume I'm in that category. Well, somebody posted a couple of years ago on the internet, and you know it has to be true. It says, you know you're from Hartselle when you can remember. And one of them posted down when Charley Cain wasn't a Christian. And I thought, But you know what? I thought, okay. Yeah, I don't know if you meant that for evil or good, but at least somebody knows there was a change.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yes. Come on.
Somebody knows that guy, and he knows it's not this guy.
Amen.
Right.
Now, I didn't get that because I just had a secret relationship with Jesus.
Right.
I got to live what I believe out loud. I got to turn some things down that probably are legal for me to do. But if I think about it long enough, what light is it going to cast on me? What group is it going to cast me into? But if I live this way, well, they think I'm this guy. I want to live as far over here as I can get so they'll know I'm this guy.
Okay.
And it's all up to us whether we want it or not, right?
Right.
Why does it matter? Well, here's why it matters next page. Because when you're in the fiery furnace, the fourth man will show up.
Right.
When you're in the lion's den, an angel will come and shut their mouth in time. Because see, if Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and Daniel had not passed the being test, they're never going to make it out of these situations.
Right.
And you know what's funny about it? I'm going to just close that right here. I don't know what you want. I tell this story all the time. It's just like one day, one of my relatives, Kim and our relative was Bobby Cain. And Bobby was closest to a celebrity, I guess we had. He went out to Vegas and performed. He was so talented. He played trumpet with one hand and the piano with the other at the same time. You know, he knew Elvis, and he had a club down in Birmingham called the Cain Break forever, like 40 years or something like that. And then Bobby got saved, got born again, and he realized he couldn't do the club anymore. I thought we're saved by grace. No, we were sinners. Now we're saved by grace. And if I want people to know I'm different, I can't keep doing the club. I got to do something. So we went and started doing insurance for a while. I mean, here's this talented guy who stepped out of the limelight, if you will, and started selling insurance because he couldn't go back to that world. And then he got a phone call from Jake Hansen, and he got to tour with the Gaithers for a while, and he got to use his talents again, but he used them for the Lord. And sadly, he died young. And he called me one time. It was kind of funny because I didn't really know him until I got saved. And I traded CDs with him. Not the same. Anyway, but he said, I believe Charlie's got the Holy Ghost. I said, yes. We both did. Anyway, but he said, and so here's the point, is that they called me to be one of the pallbearers at his funeral. And I don't know, they said we're going to do this old style. And I thought, well, I don't know what that means. But we literally carried the casket to the graveside, put it in the hole, and it was up to us to bury him with shovel. And mine was the first spade of dirt to hit that coffin. And he had a name plaque on it that said, Robert Cain, this date, dash this date. And when the dirt hit that lid, the thought just flooded me. I thought, he's done. It's over. Whatever Bobby came to do and be and whatever he stood for is now been decided. And I'm just telling you right now that one day a spade of dirt's going to hit a box that's got you in it. And you need to find out right now who you want to be at that moment. What do you want said about you? If it doesn't matter, then shame on you. Because there are kids in a generation behind us that need somebody to hold up a torch and lead them through the darkness. Yeah. Somebody's got to care enough to say, well, if nobody else is going to do it, I will not bow. Yes. And if I'm the only one, then so be it. But I'll be one that goes down just like those three in that opening slide, that when everybody else was bowing, they stood because they would not bow to the idol. Yeah. Who are you going to be? What are you going to be? Because here's what's funny. Of all the thousands of young people that were abducted, we only know the names of 4. Because they didn't eat the beans. They didn't eat the meat. They ate beans. And I'm telling you that every one of you in this room have a decision. They have little bitty decisions every day of your life. They are the being decisions that you may not think is anything, but every one of those leads to something else that may very, very well, if you'll be obedient here, that when the fire comes, the fourth man will show up. If you're obedient to the little things, that when they're thrown in the lion's den and you're all by yourself, they will not devour you because you've been faithful over little. He makes you ruler over much. But if we sell ourselves out for whatever whim and compromise and whatever fleshly need we have, just when it comes along, because hey, I have a need. Right. Nobody will remember you. Nobody will remember me. I don't know about you, but I want to be somebody that they remember. Yes. That when they throw me in the hole, they put a stone up and say, he lived for Jesus. Won't you bow your head?